examiners who will co-present with me today. So let me get started and give you a brief update for your OMED experience here in Vegas, right? I know you're all excited about the evenings coming up, right? You know, that staying in Vegas thing. Anyway, our mission, is really to protect the public, and we do that by providing the means to assess competencies for osteopathic medicine and related health professions. So by hearing that, our mission is not necessarily to totally take care of you. It is to take care of the public, but we hope to also take care of you by making sure you all are able to demonstrate competency to be able to take care of patients. We have two offices. We have an office in Chicago, and that's where we have our cognitive testing division, and then we have an office in Philadelphia, but actually in Conshohocken. I can pronounce that because I'm from Philly, and that is where you will take the clinical skills examination. These are the members of our national board. These are the members of the executive committee, and we feel that we have a very representative board of the profession. I know sometimes when you're a student you think, well, who are those people that are making all these rules for us, and are they real? Well, I think they're quite real. You can certainly see they're very thoughtful. And then here's other members of our board. And one thing I'm really proud of, which is really unusual for the House of Medicine and the various boards within the professions of medicine, whether it's osteopathic or allopathic, is we actually have 40% women on our national board. That is highly unusual and very much reflects the student body, which is unusual, but we are seeing the feminization of medicine. I don't want to get shot by my co-presenters. Anyway, if you see where our board members are from and the colleges of osteopathic medicine locations, we are from all over. So we hope that we have very fair representation, and I think you probably know some of our board members. So what does the NBOME do for you? Okay, well, we have a lot of services. The first thing is protecting the public. So patient safety and quality of care is of the utmost importance to us, and I'm sure it is to you when you're a patient and you encounter the healthcare system. Helping to honor that sacred trust for self-regulation for the profession. We believe it is very important for physicians to monitor physicians' behavior. For osteopathic physicians to basically assess osteopathic physicians rather than have an external entity like maybe the government. You know, we think it should be our responsibility. It's a sacred trust. We do produce examinations for licensure. That's the COMLEX USA and COMVEX. We have been able to prove that they are reliable and valid examinations for the practice of osteopathic medicine. We also provide you with some self-assessment tools in order for you to be extremely successful in COMLEX USA. We want to see you knock the scores off the chart. And it is the kind of exam where every one of you could score 100%. You could. We haven't seen that yet, but you could. We're very optimistic. We hope you can, and that's why we've produced something called CompSay that Dr. Gimbel will talk about. We also are producing COMAT subject exams. Have any of you taken any of those at your schools yet? Okay, so Dr. Gimbel will give you a little more information about that. We do also provide global advocacy for osteopathic physicians for licensure and registration throughout the globe. Very involved in that, in international meetings. And we also are trying to educate the residency program directors, not just osteopathic, but allopathic, so that they understand your examination. And Dr. Gimbel's going to share some interesting data with you about residency program directors' knowledge of COMLEX USA. And then we also do faculty development. We have a national faculty, again, to be very representative of the profession, and we also support ACOM. We want to improve teaching learning assessment within the profession, and we feel that's That's how we can show that we have the highest quality of practice as osteopathic doctors. So I'm going to stop there and turn it over to Dr. Gimple. And again, thank you all so very much for having us here. And best of luck to you, and look forward to having you take care of me as I'm aging in place. So thank you.
How many first-year students do we have? Congratulations. Second year? Mostly. Third? Up here. Fourth? Two of you, right? There we go. All right. Fifth? Sometimes, you know, you get the fellows and folks who take a little longer time. So probably the thing you want to hear the most about is COMLEX USA, because if you're second-year students, I think it's still September, right? You're getting ready probably in the April, May, June, July timeframe to challenge your first portion of the COMLEX USA series, COMLEX USA Level 1. Most of you know that the Comprehensive Osteopathic Medical Licensing Examination is the only licensure exam for osteopathic medical practice. It's the only one created for DOs, by DOs, and contains a distinctive blueprint that is based on what osteopathic physicians actually see in practice and the essential competencies that an osteopathic physician needs to be able to know, to apply, and to do to take care of patients safely. And as Dr. Knabel mentioned, it's part of the self-regulation of the osteopathic medical profession that we create this series of examinations that somewhat at arm's length from those doing the teaching and learning, i.e. your teachers, your faculty, your program directors and residencies. But this is comprised by a true national osteopathic faculty, if you will, that helps to set these standards for minimal competency. So it is a maturation linked examination, and that is to say that the challenges in Level 1 are designed for the challenges that you would be expected to be able to challenge as a second or third year osteopathic medical student. And then in Level 2 CE and Level 2 PE, it's more like fourth year skills. In Level 3, it's more like skills and knowledge that are needed as a resident. So you'll see that in just a second. And it's important for you to know that the evidence for COMLEX USA has been found to be exemplary by external bodies, including the Federation of State Medical Licensing Boards, which is the federation of all of the licensing boards in Iowa and in Washington and in Pennsylvania and in Michigan, all around where all of your colleges are. They have licensing boards that license DOs and MDs, and they form a federation, and that group has found the evidence for the validity of COMLEX USA to be exemplary. And of course, I think most of you know already, it's widely, universally accepted for licensure, at least in the United States, and then also has global recognition as well as widely used for some other secondary purposes that we'll talk about in a second. COMLEX USA is kind of a bear because it does have 4 sections to it. It's not like one test or, you know, like MCAT or SAT or one of these things that we have once in our life, or maybe more than once, and you take it a couple of times to get a better score or something. With COMLEX USA, it's not like that. You challenge each level, and as soon as you pass, you cannot retake it to get a better score. Hopefully you just pass all the way along and kind of keep on cruising until you're a resident and you're taking your Level 3, and then you're ready to get a license to practice. This is a bit of a paradigm which you may have seen before. I don't think we've shown this in recent years, but we thought we might have a couple of new players at this particular meeting. And we call it kind of our continuum for lifelong learning. It shows that Level 1 kind of falls in the second year, end of second year at most osteopathic medical schools. The Level 2 has a PE and a CE component. The PE stands for performance evaluation, and that's the clinical skills exam. The CE stands for cognitive evaluation, and that's another multiple choice type of an exam. And then the Level 3 is taken usually right before you're ready to get a license. Usually the end of the first year, beginning of the second year of residency, when you might be looking towards applying for an unrestricted license to practice. Convex you really don't have to worry about. But what this slide does talk about here is that the COMLEX USA has 2 dimensions. And you won't remember it from here, but I ask you, please, in your preparation for COMLEX, rather than going to something that starts with another 5-letter acronym or some prep course or some whatever, please make sure it says COMLEX USA on it, and please make sure you go to our website and look at the actual blueprint, because it was ahead of its time in the 90s when it was developed. On our website, you'll see this identical matrix, which is actually the blueprint for Comlex USA. And each of the words on this document on our website are hot links, so when you click on them, you'll get a lot more information. For example, if you don't know what we mean by diagnostic technologies, you click on it and it gives you kind of a laundry list in the description. Same with if you don't know what patient presentations, like patients with presentations related to circulation and the respiratory system, if you go on there, it'll kind of give you what we mean by that. Okay? What you may not be able to notice from the slide, since the print is a little bit small, is that throughout the Comlex USA program, the patient encounters that you'll experience, the scenarios that you'll be dealing with, some of the knowledge and skills you'll be tested on vary. The way the patients actually present in Comlex USA don't. So no matter whether it's level 1 or level 3, you'll have roughly those percentages of patient presentations. So that kind of makes sense, right? I mean, whether you're a second-year student or whether you're a resident in a family medicine residency program or a surgical residency program, you're going to see patients with trauma, patients with sensory pain, patients with digestion, metabolism. The patients kind of keep coming at you. And it's designed around a generalist mentality, so it's not super subspecialized. It's the patients that would be replying in, they'll be showing up at the door in a generalist type practice, outpatient, inpatient, et cetera. However, what does change are what we call physician tasks, and actually this is very interesting because there are many other groups internationally that are adopting blueprints that look very much like this, almost 20 years later. The percentage of the tasks that are assessed in each level of Comlex USA do change actually quite dramatically, and I think it's and what that comes down to, is basically the word on the street from the students is, oh, I heard that level 1 mostly tests basic science, right? Well, no, we would say we don't really. What we do assess a heavy influence there. If you can see the 70 to 85% of level 1 of the items are going to be around scientific understanding of health and disease mechanisms. So there's certainly a lot of application of basic science tenets in there. Certainly more so than you would expect to have in your level 3 when you're a resident. However, notice there's still 5 to 10% of that stuff, so you can't burn your book. Where's the post-gross toast up at UNE? Don't burn those anatomy books. You're going to need those because hopefully you're going to keep using those to apply knowledge in your 3rd year and in your 4th year and as a resident. I still have I am still a nerd, but I was really a nerd then. And I still have my anatomy textbooks from my anatomy class. Still have one everywhere I am, in every office I am, and whatever, because I need to refer back to them. Of course, I use online resources as well. But you still will be applying important, we call it fundamental biomedical knowledge throughout your careers. So Comlex, even in the 90s, was way ahead of its time in having that in there. But as you notice, as you get closer to level 3, you'll also have a higher percentage of test questions relative to management and diagnostic technologies. Again, probably it's maturation based. As a resident, you're expected to know a little bit more how to use diagnostic technologies and how to manage patients than you are as a second-year student when you're expected to have a pretty good idea of the scientific underpinnings of health and disease kind of mechanisms. So I'm not going to go into that anymore, just to say that please do look at that and use this as a resource on our website. It can really, I think, be helpful in organizing your study, your preparation, and the like. We do have a new website. If you go to our website, you can click on at the bottom left-hand corner. As you're looking at it, you can click on and link over to our Facebook site. We'd really like you to like us on Facebook. You don't have to like us in real life. We just ask you to like us in Facebook. Because if you do, you get lots of good information, like when scores are released, like when there's new information about correlation with Comlex USA and performance in emergency medicine residency programs. Things that are important information that I think as a student you'd like to have, and probably a little bit more reliable source than some of the other web-based resources like studentdoctor.net relative to things like national board exams. So please get on there and like us, friend us, do something with us, get on there and link on with us so that you can be connected, and also so that you can help us to unleash the power of our own information. I'm going to say a little bit about that in a minute. You can help be part of the vehicle that transmits actual, factual information about DOs, about our credentials, about our qualifications, about our special sauce that makes us DOs, so that people learn to continue to love us for who we are, not for who they want us to be, or what have you. So Facebook is one media that you can use for that. Students always want to say, how do I prepare for this COMLEX USA examination? We don't really have any official policy relative to that. We've tried to respond to your needs. And one of the things you have said is, can you make that COMSE, can you have more COMSEs, can you have more test forms for COMSE? COMSE is our Comprehensive Osteopathic Medical Self-Assessment examination. And we've responded to that. You've asked us to kind of put COMSE on steroids, right? I think one of your great ideas, and I forget your first name. Shinba, was actually at our liaison committee, and your COSGP is one of the charter members of that liaison committee. Every year, COSGP comes to a meeting and represents you at an NBOME meeting to keep us connected, along with all the meetings when we come to your meetings, and SOMA as well. What was asked was, could you also perhaps have COMSE forms that have more feedback? Give us more information about why this answer was wrong, or those types of things. So we're looking into that. We had created COMSE as a very affordable mechanism, because we know that the educational indebtedness that you all and I was certainly involved with as well in my own training. And so we wanted to keep it really cheap and easy, and something you can do that was accessible. But we now have multiple test forms, and we know a lot of you are using those. So we hope that you continue to find those helpful. I will re-emphasize the kind of old folklore, but it's still true with recent research. There were 3 presentations at the recent ACOM meeting, many of you were there last year, that talked about the greatest preparation and the greatest correlation for your COMLEX USA performance is what? How you perform in your curriculum at your osteopathic medical school. No surprise, our national faculty is cross-pollinated with your faculties. Faculty members from every College of Osteopathic Medicine are on the NBOME national faculty. Every faculty utilized NBOME COMLEX USA exams, at least to some extent, in terms of helping to prepare their curriculum. They're not teaching to the test, but what they're saying is we need to prepare students to get over these benchmarks, these hurdles, demonstrate their competence. We better make sure there's some synchronization with the COMLEX USA examination pathway. So that really is important there. And again, we don't recommend one particular review bank or prep course or whatever. We do ask you, your deans and your faculty, your mentors will help you, advise you there. But do be wary of breaches and confidentiality issues. Certainly if you're contacted by anybody to say, hey, you just had a really good score on COMLEX USA, or maybe if you scored a certain score or higher, we would like you to come and write test items for us. That can sometimes be looked at as kind of like recall or other types of schemes. And those have happened with other national examinations in this country in the last few years, and they've had very big penalties. So, because in case you're lost, what I'm saying is you can't memorize content from a licensure exam and then go and blog it or send it or email it or share it in any other way with your colleagues, because you sign a confidentiality kind of professionalism agreement that you will not do that, because it kind of makes sense, right? If even though you want to be helpful, right? We all want to be helpful to our colleagues. As much as you like, I know you like Joseph, but as much as you like Joseph, if Joseph cannot demonstrate his minimal competency in knowledge, application of knowledge or skills, you wouldn't want Joseph to pass the exam, because he could be taking care of your child or your grandmother, and it's just so. I think you get the point. So when you really think it all out and honoring your code as a professional, you want to make sure that Joseph really does have the minimal competency. I'm sure he'll have no trouble demonstrating that. So COMSE does correlate fairly well. It's not 100%. So if you take a COMSE and you elect to take it under time circumstances, it does correlate about 0.75, 0.8. Some schools get higher. So that's fairly good. But it's not 100%, so it's not going to be a guarantee that if you get a 500 on a COMSE, you're going to pass COMLEX USA the next month. They are a different day, and again, just not 100% there. COMAT, this is really just to say that we do have these subject exams, which are used now just about by every single College of Osteopathic Medicine. There are actually 2, I believe. The one is really looking in earnest at starting at least one subject this year. The other one still holding out at this point. But every other college, including the new ones that have third-year students by now, are using COMAT. And it's been really well received. I don't know if any of the third and fourth years have taken COMAT subjects. They're not perfect. Well, no examination is perfect. You know that. But what they are challenges that you have throughout your clerkship year your clinical rotation year, mostly in the third year, that help keep you studying, keep you preparing, keep you thinking osteopathically, because they're osteopathically distinctive, and they're going to test you and see how you're doing. Your school will determine whether or not you pass or not. The school sets the pass, fail thresholds, or sets the standards, or sets how they're going to use it. But it's just good information to kind of have and secure, and then you get feedback. So, people always want feedback on how they're learning, how they're studying, how they're preparing, how are they doing compared to other students around the country. This is a way to get that. So again, it's been very well received from the schools and the students as well at this point. Comlex USA scores go automatically through the electronic residency application service after your consent to the schools that you choose. I'm sorry, to the residency programs that you choose for them to go to. So if you're going to apply to 10 residency programs and you check them all off, whether they're ACGM accredited, whether they're AOA accredited, dually accredited, those scores go there. They actually go with a lot more information. In fact, you'd be very impressed. I'm one day a week I work in a residency program. And I actually pulled up some scores this last week just to kind of see, because ERAS underwent a change this last year. And actually the Comlex USA information not only is more comprehensive, but it was much more impressive on the ERAS site than the USMLE information that I saw for some of the MD applicants to our program. So I was really pleased with that. So we worked really hard to make sure that the conversion tool that converts a Comlex USA score to a percentile is on there. We made sure that there was good information so that program directors who might not know what Comlex USA is got a little bit more information. We've had a lot of initiatives to reach residency program directors. You've helped with some of these ideas, both in folks coming to our liaison committee and others. We've asked you, how do we reach program directors? I was on a conference call last Wednesday night with the Council of Interns and Residents, the DO residents who are giving us some more ideas. We've been publishing in peer-reviewed journals. We've been sharing the information. We have an iPhone app. It should be released early next month that actually is essentially about Comlex USA and also has the conversion tool that converts a 3-digit Comlex USA score into a percentile score. We've had our What Residency Program Directors Should Know About Comlex USA handout. You can find that on our website. Put in the orientation packet for new residency program directors at the ACGME the last 2 years running. And I was actually down at the ACGME offices again on Thursday, and we have some very good colleagues down there and been working with them very regularly. So we're out in front. We've been out in front for several years on this issue, and the good news is it's kind of paid off. Because when the National Residency Matching Program, which is a AAMC affiliate, formerly part of the AAMC, the American Association of American Colleges, I guess, did a survey of ACGME program directors. Now, everybody knows all the DO program directors use Comlex USA as some part of assessing you to see whether or not they want to rank you, interview you, match you, hire you in their residency, right? It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's something that they will look at. What was very reassuring to see was that 77% of ACGME program directors, and there's almost 10,000 programs, 77% of them, with a very robust sample size in this particular survey by the NRMP. It's on their website. You can tool down specialty by specialty and get all kinds of information. 77% of them also accepting Comlex USA and using it there. So again, it's not what Comlex USA was created for, but because they're using it, if they're going to use some type of a score, they should be using your Comlex USA because you're a DO after all. This was another recent study that if you were a friend of ours on Facebook, you would have seen as soon as it came out. This poster presentation was given at the Council of Residency Program Directors in Emergency Medicine and the Society of Academic Emergency Medical Educators, which are all ACGME accredited programs. And it basically said that Comlex USA correlates with emergency medicine performance of residents using the ABMS equivalent of an in-training exam for the ACGME accredited emergency medicine program. You're going to be seeing a lot of this one, and there's a lot more like it. Wanted to leave a few minutes for questions, but just to kind of let you know, I mean, we've been around for 79 years. The NBOME has been strong, now recognized in all states for licensure. We're your pathway for licensure. We recognize there's a lot of stress and turmoil in your world. There was for us as well as students, as residents. It's a stressful time, and then with all the things going on in the environment, it seems to tweak it up just, crank it up just a little bit more. But do remember, this is your profession. And the fact that we are a unique and distinctive osteopathic medical profession is the way we're able to meet our mission. within this profession, which ultimately is taking good quality of care of our neighbors, our community, our patients, our family. We've been around for a long, long time. We hope to be around for a long, long time in the future, and be happy to try to answer any questions in any time that we have. So, Tara?
Questions? Hi, Elise Julian, NSU Com. My question is, we at Nova, we just recently switched over to using the COMATs for our evaluations and to get pass versus pass with honors, or fail. But from what I understand, and there's a lot of issues, especially with not understanding really how the COMATs were formed and the scoring behind them. There's a lot of confusion and a lot of rumors that go along with at least my class. I know that it says on the NBOME website that the average score for the COMATs is between, I believe, 107 to 110. Is that correct? And then, so our school has decided that that means you have to have one standard deviation above the national average, which is a 111, in order to get a pass with honors. The thing that most people are confused about is that if the average is between 107 to 110, does that mean for each subject it could be a different number in order to get a standard deviation one above normal? Meaning, like, could psych potentially be an average of 107 and not technically 110?
Right. As I said earlier, the passing standards and how they actually use the scores at each of the colleges is variable. This is your school's first year, so actually first 2 months in using COMAT. You know, they came on board in July.
Yep.
So I hadn't heard how they were actually using it. Almost all the schools ascribe some stakes to it and use things like either criterion reference methodology, or in this case, norm reference methodology, where they're comparing you, to the kind of national norm standard scores, and they're factoring in a standard deviation and ascribing that. It's certainly the prerogative of the schools to set their standards where they set it.
But do you see what I'm saying? Since they want one standard deviation above what the national average is, but on the website it says the national average is between 107 to 110. It's a range. So is that range meaning that each test could potentially be somewhere in between 107 to 110, meaning like one subject fell at 108, another subject fell at 110?
Right.
Because then
there is a range.
But is that what that means?
Yes.
Is there any way to find out which subjects fell at where?
Dr. Carlson's actually a dean at one of the schools who uses the COMAT examinations as well. So.
Pediatrics exam. The scores actually kind of meander around that mean over the course of the year as more and more students start taking it, and the N increases over the academic year.
Oh, okay. So would there be...
The National Board gives information to whoever is responsible at your college, your associate dean for the third and fourth year rotations, for example, and they will report to them what is the mean and the mean for each examination in an ongoing fashion. So every time they get a batch of scores, they get that reported to them. So they have that information.
So they know the mean for just my school when they took it, or the national mean for everyone who took it that month?
Both.
Oh, they have both?
Both.
Okay. And then the other room...
So they're probably not using a specific score for the same examination.
Yeah.
Are they really? Okay.
111.
Okay.
For every exam.
Yeah. I mean, that's their decision.
Everyone had different, I guess, thoughts as to what was going on.
And it may be, like I said, it's very early. I can't imagine that many students from the schools have even taken a COMAT yet. So there may be some rumors that are floating around.
Yeah, the other rumor that's going around that I just wanted to address is where the questions are actually coming from. Are they specifically written for the COMATs? They are. Yeah,
all new COMAT questions are all completely written for that. There were some questions that had been used a few years back in COMAT USA and they're retired, typically level 2 CE, but they were still found to be updated and to be reviewed by committee. Almost all of them were tweaked because there had to be things taken care of. Because they're a little different, but I will tell you, the COMAT questions are COMLEX USA style. They're put together and regrouped together for an achievement test. And what we're seeing this year, and I didn't talk much about pass rates, we're actually seeing one of the highest rates we've had in recent history in COMLEX USA Level 2 CE performance. Who were all those students who took CE this last year? All you smarty pants, you're destroying the meeting. No, we're seeing really high scores, which is great. And I think that a lot of that is because students are getting practice each month or every 6 weeks or whatever with COMLEX USA style questions. And then they're studying really hard to try to do well in COMAT with COMLEX USA style questions. And all of that is helping to drive performance up on COMLEX USA Level 2 CE. And that's great. Isn't that what we're all trying to do, is learn more, be smarter, be able to apply knowledge better, be able to take care of patients better, and hopefully those things all sync on up.
Okay, thank you so much for the information. I appreciate it.
You got it. So good.
Okay. Hi, Eric Goldwasser, Roman Son. Can you speak on behalf of the NBOME in terms of any discussion in terms of opening the exam up to allopathic students, and especially in light of the merger, if that's something that's being considered and any kind of ramifications that is foreseen of that?
Good question. Our board has not taken that up as a topic at all at this point, because for eligibility for COMLEX USA, at this point you have to be a student in good standing, have completed at least 1 year of COMLEX USA, 1 year of an osteopathic COCA accredited osteopathic medical school curriculum, and then you have to have passed the course level 1 in order to take level 2, and so on. But I'm sure if, for example, if the AOA and its residency accreditation system decides to allow MDs, whether they're from an international medical school or a U.S. medical school or whatever, to apply for and enroll in an osteopathic residency program, I'm sure that we'll have to be considering that issue. But that hasn't come forward yet. It hasn't been on our board's agenda.